2005 or 2006. That started the conditional use for existing license. Normally, existing license, you don't need a conditional use permit. But now the regulation of the city of LA, they require you to apply for conditional use permit prior to moving.
What kind of do you know what kind of license you've got with ABC?
21 off-sale general.
What kind?
21.
21?
21 off-sale general, that's what we call it.
21 what, General?
Off-sale. You know, it's off-sale that people buy and go home to drink. On-sale, people drink on the
Consuming it off the site.
out the site.
Now, do you have beer, wine only, or full
I
liquor?
have full liquor.
Full liquor.
Full license.
And what kind of signs do you have for that? On the windows or any place else?
No, I have just a big sign in the top of the building. It says liquor.
But you don't advertise any particular whiskey or gin?
No.
Mhm.
No, my windows are all on. You can check it.
So people come in there and pick up something on their way home? or-
Exactly, that's how it is. People come, on the way home or on the way from, let's say, visit somebody or, we don't sell liquor and we sell beverages, we sell water, we sell chips, we sell, basically it's a small market, we have grocery, yes.
What would your hours be?
We open from 7 a.m.
7 a.m.?
to 11 p.m. and Friday and Saturday we open till midnight.
Okay, those are your current hours? And are you changing any of this when you're moving across the street, same thing?
That's my
Hello. We had,
Have you ever had trouble at all with the high school, with the students, whatever, or is it pretty much adult person coming to or from
No,
work?
we have the school comes in bushes, gum and candy and stuff and
Okay, you
chips.
carry water, soda, all
We carry
that.
all full line, yes.
And there's somebody within your store that patrols that the kids don't come in and buy the
Oh,
things they're not
we've
supposed
never
to.
had any.
Okay, no problem with
No
that.
problem with ABC, never. We've been, actually, I have a couple of letters from ABC that
Okay.
they try to do, decoy. They
Okay.
would send somebody under 21, we always card everybody.
Okay. You
For
have-
cigarette and for liquor, I'm sorry.
Do you have groceries there?
Yes, Mr.
So you sell milk and,
Milk, eggs,
Bread.
bread,
Okay.
hostess, it's a mini market. It's a liquor store with a mini market.
so what are your hours on Friday and Saturday? I missed that.
7 to midnight,
7 to midnight. What about Sunday?
7 to 10.
7 to 10?
Yes.
There'll be a public hearing on it,
I know.
and the police will probably show up if there's a problem, or has been a problem. They're always looking at concentration of liquor license, and that's one thing everybody wants to know about.
Sure.
And you've got a record of being across the street, so they already got some idea of what you're gonna.
They've never been to my store, believe it or not, they have never been to my store. We don't have any problem. We run a smooth, clean operation, so they have no reason to come in and, we don't, a lot of the police department, they go when there's a lot of drunk people hanging around the store, a lot of fights or something. This store, I've been there 16 years, we've never had a problem.
Okay, let me rephrase what my understanding is, and then correct me if I got it wrong. You have been at this location without a conditional use permit because it wasn't required for 16 years, and the business was open for a long time before that. You were moving across the street simply because of a rent change, and you are proposing to keep the same business, doing the same kinds of things, same hours, same everything except across the street.
That's all.
And the city, because the regulations have changed, is now requiring you to get conditional use permit and liquor license and all of.
Actually, I'm gonna just,
Okay,
they don't
please.
require me to get a liquor license, they require me to get a conditional use permit
Permit?
to move my existing license.
Okay.
So that's, you don't require to get a new license. The license, you have it as long as you pay the fees on it, you keep it forever.
How long does that license go? When does it expire?
No, you renew it once
It
a
does,
year.
okay, it is a once a year.
You
Okay.
pay the fees on it once a year to renew it. You pay
Okay.
$500 every year to renew it.
Gotcha.
Is the size of the new location the same
Small.
size as the other one? It's
Much
smaller?
The one I have right now is about 3,400 square feet. The one I'm moving is about 1,980.
How
Are you
much?
gonna cut out some of the stuff you carry? How are you
No.
gonna do that?
That's what I told the landlord here. I said, I have about 1,500 square feet in the back, which I don't use. I have an
Okay.
office probably as big as this room.
It's-
See,
it's-
You know, I told them that's the days where we used to buy 100 cases of 2 liter of Coke, 100 cases of 2 liter.
Right.
That's gone. You know, because my price in 2 liter Coke probably about $2.25. The market has for 79 cents.
Okay.
So, you know, I can't buy 100 cases. It's gonna expire, right? So I told them, I don't need all that back room. Just cut it, take it from me, and rent it to somebody else, and give me, I'll pay you the $2.
Okay, so you're pretty much gonna move the same business from one side of the business.
Exactly, I won't have a storage. The
Okay.
storage in the other place will be much smaller, and that's about it. But the front will be the same. I already talked to an engineering, it's called YAG Engineering. They did the drawing for me,
Okay.
how the layout is gonna be. Basically, it's gonna be almost the same.
With
So
the
you
same
are you
staff?
making any major changes in the mix of products that you're selling?
No, man, it's the same stuff. Same exact lineup, just, you know, groceries, bakeries, and milk, and eggs, water, and so on.
Do you cash checks for people? So if they get their pay on
Payroll check.
Friday, they can come there and get their.
Yes, sir.
We want to hear from you and Rick Benayer and any, tell us any more.
I know they raised an issue about where LAPD does look for concentration and liquor license. And as Tony had stated, since it's an existing license that's already in the census tract, it's not contributing to any additional concentration. It's just keeping it the same. We're just moving, like we stated, across the street. So it won't lead to a further concentration of liquor licenses.
Oh, okay, I'd like to go around the table in the committee and see if you have any issues with this, starting with you, Ray.
I have no problem with it at all.
Okay, Bill?
He has a record of where he is, so, but we don't really know what that is until the public hearing's held by the zoning administrator. But they will probably condition the daylights out of it because it's kind of short on parking. It's kind of hard to get in and out of there unless you're walking. I don't know if there's a over concentration because of the shopping centers and all the four corners of commercial. That'll be taken into effect. But otherwise, I can't see anything that's be a nuisance for me.
Can I
Okay.
follow up with him for a second? If you think across the street I have a problem with parking, try the one I have now. It's impossible to park in my school right now. We lose a lot of business because no parking. It's so hard to get in. If you notice San Fernando Mission will be in the north corner, it's a one-way. You can only come down San Fernando to get into that shopping center. Other than that, you can't. It's illegal to make a left turn.
This is on your existing one.
So if you're saying raising the issue with the parking, it's much better parking across the street. We
So
have-
you're improving the situation.
The situation for the parking spot is improving as far as the parking situation. Because we have 22 parking across the street for 9 stores. We have 9 parking for 7 stores where we are right now.
Bill?
It'll be directly across the street, it'll be on San Fernando.
San Fernando Mission would be.
I'm
it's
just, I go by there every day, but for some reason I can't envision the vacant stores where you're going to go in, but that's just my problem. No, I got an issue.
Jen?
No, I don't think I really have an issue. I have a question. When the grocery store over here went out, did that increase your business of your breads and waters, and has that changed your liquor business at all that would create a problem?
It increased it the first month dramatically.
Okay.
Dramatically. Then people, you realize liquor store people, they like to get in and out. They know
Okay.
they're buying, they're paying probably 10% or 20% or 15% higher price, but they like the convenient.
Right.
Going in and out, you don't have to wait in line, you don't have to wait for a cashier to open or anything like that. Then, the customer that used to pay, for example, we brought the example of 79 cents for 2 liter Coke, they realize I can go to Smart and Final down the street and get it for 79 cents.
Right.
Or I can go to Bonds across the street that way and get it for.
Okay, so that really hasn't caused an issue for you guys. Do you know, just offhand, are there any other liquor stores in the area? It really shouldn't affect what I'm thinking because you've been there anyway. Are there other stores, anything that's closed recently in the area that you would pick up business from?
No.
Nothing.
Okay. Do you know how many there are in this area?
I think just the deli.
The deli, the dairy,
The dry- the
across-
dairy?
no, if you think
Okay.
in Granada
I think
House,
that's pretty much
yeah.
within
Okay.
the realm of
And we
the,
gotta decrease it.
yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, yeah. No problem.
Barbara?
Okay. No problem.
Okay. My own take also is, this is an existing business moving across the way, and whatever parking issues there may or may not be, I think the public hearing will surface, and I think I have no problems with this at all. So we want to take a vote on our recommendations. Somebody make a motion? Yes.
I'll make a motion that we, for our plum committee, approve their application and we give them, the okay to move on?
Recommend that the board approve.
Well, move on our board,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, Mike?
I would just like to recommend that if we bring a motion like that, we do add that as long as all the city inspections, all the city requirements are met.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's what the public hearing is for.
And that would be after the fact anyway, so we could.
Yes.
As long as there's sufficient conditions to minimize any negative impact on the neighborhood.
Do you accept the changes? Jan?
Yes,
Motion?
totally.
Okay, all in favor?
Discussion.
All right, I thought we already discussed, but go ahead.
Not when you have- Well, you've made a change to the motion now.
Any additional discussions?
The problem I have with that motion is that it seems like you can't do it. You know, you can't say, it's okay to move, provided there aren't any problems, because you won't see any problems until after they've moved. So,
So
I don't get it.
what do you
Okay,
suggest?
what's the
But you
point?
don't get.
What do you suggest,
you-
Bill?
Not have it in there.
You just
Bill,
can't.
I'm sorry, the other Bill has the floor. Sorry, go ahead.
Just to remove that clause, because there's no way you could do anything about it, because after you've approved it, you can't say, we're gonna withdraw our approval after they moved and there's an issue, because now they're already there. It seems kind of like bass backwards.
Jan and then Bill and
So you're not saying that we shouldn't approve the project, you're saying we should change the motion?
We should leave it as it was.
Or leave it as that
Yeah.
way?
Okay, Bill Lillimer?
He won't get a approval without conditions.
Right?
I don't know, to write them out and put those as part of the action. I'm not assured of all the issues that we would have before us. All I'm doing, I'm signaling this to the zoning administrator to come up with detailed
Sufficient,
conditions that otherwise we have no objection to.
Okay, so you're wording it this way to sort of put the zoning administrator on notice that we expect to see some pretty hefty conditions.
He'll come up with
He
maybe
has
10
none,
or 12.
he has none right now, so, whatever they come up with is an improvement.
I
So go
I
ahead.
just say, you know, we don't need to signal to anybody, they know it's coming, they see it on their desk. I mean, it's just that we approve it contingent on them meeting all the conditional use permits and everything like that.
Sounds fair.
Okay, well, Jan, it was your motion,
So
so,
if they don't need it, then they don't get it.
And then
Right.
Then it becomes moot whether we would recommend approval or not.
I actually believe it is unnecessary, but I don't care
That's
if
fine,
it's
then
there,
I'll withdraw.
so.
It's fine.
Okay, so, how many of you would like to keep that condition on?
What conditions that?
The one that you put on? Okay, so I think you're outvoted on that. Okay, now the original motion, who is for it, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Opposed?
That's a
Any
blank check.
abstentions? Any abstentions? Okay. All right, so the
I
committee will
just wanna
recommend, okay,
tell
let me.
Bill something.
Hang on a second, let me clarify for you what the process is. The plum committee is strictly advisory. Okay, and so if we decide to approve it as a committee, it then goes to the board of the neighborhood council. They consider it and they approve it or not. And the whole neighborhood council in itself is purely advisory. We can only make recommendations to the city, and then the city agencies will make the final decision. We do not make the decisions, we recommend, all right? So that's the process, but step number one, the committee has approved it.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And this will.
Bill, I just want to tell you something. We know it's gonna be condition. You don't need to push it to more, to put more. Every condition they put in that license hurt the business. Like when they tell you can't sell shooter. You know, we do probably like $1,000 in shooter. That's gone. You know what I'm saying? Every time they put a condition on us, we lose business. You know, and small business right now is struggling as is. We don't need to make it worse for us. We pay the most taxes to the government, and they always push us to go out. I just want you to know that.
If you don't have
Okay,
those.
well, hang on a second, guys. This matter has been settled, so.
Thank you. I
Just
just want, I just want.
Just so that you know, it will now go to our full board,
Okay.
and that is on September 2nd.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next item, which was 3A on the agenda. This is,
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you for coming back. This is the proposal for an open care facility at the corner of Rinaldi and Shoshone by Griffin Development. So this is the matter coming up now. Are you all here? All the people are here that need to be here? Yes? And who will be the main spokesperson?
I think I will. My name is Rick Neese. We've met before. And
Hi.
hi. Library. So we're here.
Wait a second, let me just set a precondition.
Okay.
You were here once before, the matter was not on the agenda, so that was treated as public comment. So whatever you think you may have conveyed to the committee, please start from the beginning. Especially since I believe most of the public here right now is interested in this particular project. So please take a step back and start from scratch, all right?
Introduce us first, since we're here.
Sure. Absolutely. Am I okay here? Is this good about me?
Wherever you want to be.
That's good.
We'll adjust.
I just moved the camera so that you could stay there.
Okay. We have Rick Donnelly from Heritage Christian Schools, and we have David Hendrick. David Kendrick with Heritage Christian School. Excuse me, I have a lozenge in my throat because I've got a terrible cough that tinkles, so apologize about that. And these are our property owners. They own the 5 acres property on the northwest corner of Shoshone and Rinaldi.
It's on.
And I am with Griffin, my name is Richard Neese. I'm the president of Real Estate Development, and I am with Griffin Real Estate Management Company. With me today is David Griffin, principal, and Paul Krieger, one of our associates. And we made a informational meeting we had an informational session for you, as you said, back in May 19th. And then we presented a very preliminary information to the neighborhood. We sent out some neighborhood invitations, and we had a neighborhood meeting on August 11th. And we collected comments from the informal meeting we had with the Plum Committee on May 19th. And we collected some comments from the August 11th meeting we had with our neighborhood. And we brought those along with us today. We share those with your Plum Committee. We brought the presentations boards that we made at the neighborhood meeting on August 11th, if you'd like to see those. And we thought with the comments that we had from the May meeting with you and the August meeting with the neighbors, we would take those comments back to our professional consultants and designers.
Are any of those here?
No.
Okay.
And we would work as a team with the architects, the landscape architects, the engineers, traffic engineers, and we would work on all the comments and ourselves to modify, refine, and improve the project to respond to as many comments as we can, and to revise the project, to bring it back and see how we can address some of the concerns, some of those comments, and improve the project as best we can. There's many comments, and so we brought the list, and we thought, you know what, before we do all that, we'd share the list with you and see if either today or in the recent few days, if we had any more, we would add them to the list as well. Because once we get our team together, we're going to spend a lot of professional brain power and time and energy doing these changes and modifications and new elevations and new engineering and grading and all the things that go into developing a project. So we thought we would, collect all this information, make those changes, and then come back and have as good of a project as we can based upon this input we've received. So for today, we're prepared, and we'd like to share with you these comments that you gave us, that the neighbors gave us. We can share with you the information we handed out at the neighborhood meeting. I brought that along, and we can hand that out. And we can also share with you the boards that we used at our meeting, which it's a summary of the presentation that we made. So it's really up to your committee how much information you would like today, but at least I'd like to give you the comments that we're going to work on.
Yes, Bill?
I'd like to start with the handouts you had
Yes.
last meeting. 'Cause I
Yes,
didn't
would you do that, please?
Oh, the handouts that went out to everyone? Okay.
get-
All right.
you get one, you did-
Thank you, Paul. This was, we actually ran out. We had at our August 11th neighborhood meeting, and I apologize, it was a short notice, and I was reprimanded for making it a short notice. We were out of contract for a while with the sellers, so we weren't able to move forward, and the sellers and ourselves got back together. We got our contract back together, and then we were able to represent the fact that we had the project under contract. And when we got that going, we thought the first thing we should do is get the neighborhoods together. And in our effort to do that, we had to find a place and put it all together, and it did get to be short. But we put a sign up on the property. We sent out 190. Yes.
In the interest of time, and since we do have a lot of information to go to, could
Okay.
we maybe expedite the information? a little
Sure,
bit? Can you
sure.
put up
So we
the
sent
board and
we sent out
graph?
190 notices. We got about 50 people showed up at our neighborhood meeting in general. Some of them were a few of us, and some of them were from your committee, but a lot of them were property owners, and we thought we got a pretty good turnout. And I thank you, Jan, and
Bill?
Bill and Mike, who I think, Bill and Mike and Jan were there. Okay, so the handout is pretty much informational. It tells who we are, tells about the property, 5.4 acres, northwest corner, Rinaldi and Shoshone. It says the address, the APN numbers, the current use. So one piece is vacant, and 3 pieces are single-family homes. A total of 4 parcels. Shows the zoning, the community plan, the area planning commission, the neighborhood council, the council district, and Mitchell Englander is a councilman, and then the proposed project. And I'm not going to read all this, I'll leave it for you. And we talk about the need, we talk about the buildings themselves, the site, the low traffic impacts, and we talk about the Shoshone Avenue traffic congestion solution that we're going to propose as part of this project. We talk about the general low impacts to the community of the project. We talk about new jobs for the community. So this was handed out with this reminder that this was the message that was, the email that was, the flyer that was sent out, and a site plan on the back that was sent out. So that was the handout. Then let's go and hand out the plum meeting and the neighborhood meeting comments that we received, at least as we captured them.
How'd you get it all on one page?
It's one page.
I know, how'd you get all the comments on one page?
Condensed.
It's very broad.
Condensed. Yeah, well, there was a lot of repetitive comments, so sometimes, you know, we kind of grouped them all together. But the idea is if there's more that we missed, we want to capture those. But we think we've got a lot of them condensed in. And so I think I would start with your comments from May 19th, meeting with Granada Hills North Neighborhood Council Plum.
So, Agnes, did you want us to start over presenting the entire project from scratch again, or do you
Well, let
want?
me ask the public, because I think, as far as the committee is concerned, we could just probably do with the changes, with whatever changed. But I would like to ask the public and what it is that the public would like to hear.
Well, I'd like to hear it.
From the beginning, where you,
Mhm.
okay?
Have you been present in any of the
I'm
presentations
not,
that were made?
no,
They haven't seen anything at all.
no.
And what about you? Were you at the neighborhood meeting? Okay, well, I'll tell you what, why don't you accelerate the previous things and then we'll concentrate on changes, okay? The
Okay.
previous information,
Okay.
we'll summarize it perhaps. For the benefit of you, let me do what I should have done in the beginning and introduce everybody here. The people around the table are actually on the Plum Committee.
Back there, we're gonna use the chair.
Jan Subar across the table there and I are co-chairs of the committee, and these are the members of the committee. We have one absence today. The people, and Mike Greenwald is the president of the neighborhood council, who is a member of the committee because of his position as president of the council. The people sitting next to him is Wade Hunter, who used to be a member of the committee, very knowledgeable about neighborhood developments. The gentleman in the cap is a neighbor. Donna is a member of the neighborhood council board. And William Kuzman is a stakeholder in the community as well.
Yeah.
Okay? All right.
You stand on that side.
Donna, have you seen this presentation before?
Is this okay for everyone?
Okay, camera's in the way.
Is the camera on record?
Yes, it is.
It is? Oh,
You
want us to present over there?
No.
okay. All right. Are you holding?
The first comment I'd like to make is, this still looks like the concept from some other project, or is it actually what it's going to look like?
We like this elevation. We like this mission style concept. We like that it will fit into this neighborhood. So the idea that we have for this Granada Hills project, the Rinaldi and Shoshone, we are using a previously designed project for our Riverside community, and we think it fits in very well. So it's not unheard of to say, hey, something works and it's been well received and it's designed, and that it may very well fit into another use with changes. So at the moment, this elevation actually in Riverside is a 3-story elevation. When we presented it to you in May, you made it very clear to us that 3-story elevations would not be acceptable. So we've been able to just in concept say there would be not be a 3-story elevation in this building. So the first big change that we took to the neighborhood meeting and that we have for you today is that the concept that we bring back is only 2 stories. Only 2 stories except this little small tower, and there was comments about that. If that is a problem, we can certainly just have a 2-story roof elevation, and then, I don't know, maybe we'll put a windmill on top instead of a tower. But, you know, a mission style bell is a traditional mission look, but we can work on that. That's not, you know, but it's not a 3-story building, other than some maybe mission bell element type of thing. So this is a two-story Mission Santa Barbara style elevation that we're proposing. And yes, we've used this in another project, but we think it will work very well here in this neighborhood. But that's up to, you know, the meetings we're going to have in the neighborhood. So this is what we're presenting for today.
That's the inside version. It's not what you'll see in Rinaldi and Shoshone.
That's correct. That's correct, sir. This is as you arrive to the front door of the project to drop off or visit and come in. This is what we call our front door, but this is not the Rinaldi or Shoshone elevations, which we will have to bring back to you. And we're prepared to make that part of, you know, all of the modifications we're going to work on with our design consultants. Okay, so this is what was sent out. This is what we
Do you
had.
happen to have a plot plan that shows where this is?
Yes.
Can we see that?
So we can take that down. So
It's in there, it's in there.
I have it here. It was on the back side of the
Right.
presentation that was sent out.
So this is this view?
Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
that's correct. So, then we went through and we presented the location so people would be able to find it. Here, just north of Rinaldi, in the, you know, the greater Granada Hills area. And we came in and we zoomed in a little bit closer to show Rinaldi and Shoshone neighborhood. And then we came in a little closer and we showed how it sat in just north of the freeway and to the east of the White Oak T intersection. And then we came in a little closer and showed, you know, the neighbors very close in and the 5-acre property. And then this actually should, to be consistent, we should turn this. So this is Shoshone and this is going north and this is Rinaldi. And we showed that the property kind of situated with one side on Shoshone, one side to Rinaldi, with the main entrance coming in off of Rinaldi. So the main arrival for visitors would be coming in off of Rinaldi, and exit would be coming off of Rinaldi. And you would arrive here at a drop off, and that was the elevation we showed you just a little bit ago. Deliveries would probably come back more towards the middle of the house. We at one time had a 3-story element here. Now this, if we're going to do a basement, it would be a full basement. You would not see any 3rd story. It would be for storage, back of house, laundry, things that might facilitate the property. It may actually move over to here, but it won't be below ground. If there is a basement, it would be below ground. You would not see the 3rd. It would not stick above the ground like we had originally proposed. Then the emergency exit would be gated access to Shoshone, only for fire or some other emergency vehicle purpose, but it would be gated with a lockbox, so there would be no traffic exiting to Shoshone. So the whole project really entrances and exits off of the very western side of Rinaldi. So we don't clog or add to Shoshone Avenue traffic and Shoshone Avenue problems. Matter of fact, in a little while we'll come back and we'll talk about the fact that this project wants to add an entirely new lane. So we have a second right-hand turn lane. We want to add a full right-of-way for sidewalk and landscaping, so we can add a sidewalk all the way along the property boundary so this property can be improved. So that was part of, let's see, we showed this next. Oh, why don't we leave that up there? Maybe this will help balance it, I don't know. Let's see, does that work better or not? Okay. You got it?
Yep.
Okay. So then we showed the existing conditions on Shoshone with 1, 2, 3 existing homes and the church. And we showed how that existing condition was where we start. We showed this first house, this second house, this third house with no sidewalks and no landscaping and just the curb and the existing homes. And then we showed a neighbor home up here, which is a little bit far away, but we wanted to show it. And they did have a sidewalk and they did have a curb and an area for planting, but it didn't get planted at this picture. But anyway, so that's the existing immediate homes. And then there are 1, 2 homes that sit pretty close to our facility up on Ridgeway Road. And then further coming into the neighborhood up here you can see some other homes that are accessed off of Rancho del Val. So we have Ridgeway Road, I think, with 2 residences, and then Rancho del Val with, a few residents that would look down onto the property, 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe, here. So our primary residents that would be real adjacent to us or very close to our property are here, 1, 2 on Ridge, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then maybe this one, maybe 7. And then the church school itself. And then we imposed the property as we see it here. We put in landscaping, we put in our main access here, and we tried to show how we would fit in. And then we also showed an alternative elevation in more of a craftsman style with stone and wood accents and wood treatments instead of this mission style. And that's something we can talk about, but we wanted to kind of try to match the neighborhood. So either one I think would work, or some other alternative could also work. So that was how we presented the existing conditions. Maybe fold them up. Before we went too farther in, we wanted to present the need, and we wanted to make sure people understood that we weren't going to build something that would fail. We wouldn't build something that had no demand. So we started in the big picture that in California there's quite an aging demand, and that in 2010 we had about 4.5 million people that were over 65, and that growing group of over 65 is going to grow pretty strong over the next 20 years. So over until we get to 2040, we're going to see actually over 100% growth. We're going to go from 4.5 million to 9.5 million in California. So that age group is going to grow significantly. We're living longer, we're healthier, California lifestyles are good, and we have better medicine. So we're going to live longer, but we also need to take care of our aging population. Then I showed in the Granada Hills area, in the 15-minute drive time, we go to the Nielsen data company that gets Nielsen data from the census data. And every 10 years we do a census and uses the 2010 census, and then they do updates and interpolation. So for 2013, which was last year when we did our data, we estimated in the 15-minute drive time, we had a population of about 1.27 million people in our 15-minute drive time. A whole population of 1.27 million people. In that area, we look at 2 groups of people. We look at the adult children that are going to have to make some decisions for their aging parents, and we look at the aging parents that are 75 and over. And the adult children that are going to have to make some decisions for their parents, there was 315,000 adult children just living in this 15-minute drive time. And the people that are over 75, there was 60,000. So there's a group of adult children and a group of aging people that are potential customers. And of the 60,000 potential customers, then we look at how many can really afford this type of private lifestyle. And the private lifestyle, when we really get down to it, in the assisted living, there's about 3,000 people who we see can afford to live in and need this type of facility. And in the memory care, there's about 2,000 more, and a total of about 5,400 people who would need a facility like we're proposing. And that group is going to grow by the time we propose to be open by another 500 people. So it's going to grow to almost 6,000 people. So by the time we look to open, we think we're going to see almost 6,000 people need this type of facility. And when we look in the area, we look at our competition, and some of our comments were, oh, there's lots of facilities here. Well, there is if you look on Google, and they show you a 6-room house that has people up to 6 patients or 6 residents in a home. But 6 people in a home doesn't do anything for 6,000 people that are going to need this facility. You'd have to have 1,000 homes providing that type of service within the 15-mile radius. So when we look at this, we look at the major companies like Aegis, Sunrise, Brookdale, and there's only a few of those in this 15-minute drive time, which we believe, from all the statistics that we know of, is where your customers come from. They won't drive a half hour or 30 or 40 minutes. They'll want to stay pretty local, and the children usually want their parents to stay local. So that 15-minute drive time is important. So then the last thing we did was we said we did the project, site plan, we laid it out, we did a grading plan, we looked at all the grading, and then we did a couple site plans through the project to kind of evaluate how this property fit into the site and how it also related to the adjacent properties and the neighbors. So the first thing we did is we graded the property and we left the property in a balanced condition, is what we call it. That means we don't import any dirt, we don't export any dirt. We don't have to take trucks to fill or take trucks to export out. We don't have to do that during our construction. And we take the dirt and we massage and move it around so we can create basically a flat area to build the building. And then when we do that, this Rinaldi is actually going downhill in a slope like this, but we can't build our building that way. So when we make the building flat, this driveway here is flush, so Rinaldi and this driveway are at the same grade. But as Rinaldi falls down, this grade stays up, so there's a slope that starts to develop. So as we get across here, we have like a 2-foot slope, and then a 3-foot slope, and then maybe a 4-foot slope. So by the time we get to here, there's a slope that sits here that we would landscape. There'd be a slope up to a flat pad, and then we would have our building. And we'll show you that a little bit here.
And at its height, what is the maximum?
The maximum height of the building or the slope?
The slope.
The slope, I believe, is going to be about 4 or 5 feet maximum. So 4 or 5 foot. And it'll be sloped back up to 2-to-1, and it'll be landscaped. We could even make it maybe more gradual. Right now we're showing it as a 2-to-1. And then along the top we have a lot of planting of trees, as we showed you earlier. And we want to make that a nice area. We're going to set the building back from the right-of-way about 30-35 feet. So we have a new driving lane that we're going to add for 10 feet. And then we're going to add a new right-of-way with sidewalk and landscaping for another 10 feet. And then we're going to have another 30 to 35 feet till we get to the building that will be landscaped. Some of it will be sloped, and then some will be flat and with trees. And we're going to propose we have a walk around our building so our residents actually, if they wanted to walk, they could go out and walk among the trees.
Okay, so what is the setback of this proposed building compared to the house that's immediately to the north?
That setback is probably only about 20 feet.
Okay.
So for a driveway,
your setback
is about 30 or 35. So then we just tried to show a section drawing. So we drew a section through here, and then we called that section AA, and we drew a section through here to catch this house. So we caught the 2 homes, AA and BB, and then CC goes this way, so we can catch the north house here. So at the top, AA is this section on the bottom, and we have 2 homes here that sit here. So there they are. And then as you come across, we'd have our landscaping area, we'd have this driveway, and there's not much elevation change here. And then we'd have a building, and our building, and then we'd have that kind of that slope I was telling you about, landscaping and the slope and Shoshone, and then the church. So you can see the church. So that all would be happening like right here along Rinaldi. So that's probably...
Okay, so the height of your proposed building as compared to Heritage across the street is lower, looks like on the building, on the drawing?
I think we're lower than their peak. We're very close. Our actual building height would be lower than their building height, but we sit up a little higher on that slope and they sit down lower. It's because Granada is going downhill. But we're staying within the normal 2-story limits. I think we showed in our information sheet, and Bill's reading it right now. I think we said 30 or 35 feet, I forget. So we want to just make sure we have enough room to put 2 stories and a decent roof with a mission style. So,
all right, and so the second one...
and the second one would be here to pick up this home, and come across. So that would be this home here, and we come across, and then we actually now go down a hill, because he's up a little high, and we come down a hill, and then we have a flat area, and then we hit our building, and then we again come down to Shoshone, and then this is the part of the church over here. This section is a piece of the church building here. And then section CC goes the opposite way. It goes along Shoshone. So section CC comes from Rinaldi here, and we have a little slope up from Rinaldi into the pad, and then this is the building. And we want to work on this building. You told us very clearly you want to make sure the elevations on Shoshone and the elevations on Rinaldi are articulated. We get change, we get roof, and then I'm going to be done, and then we can do questions. So, and then this is the, I think their name is Amar. I think that's Mr. Amar. And that's their home there. And their property line, I think, ends around here someplace. And then we go down a slope, and we have a lot of slope landscaping, and then we have our building here. So that's, I think that's, if I remember right from the slides, I think this dimension was like 160 feet. I think this dimension was more like 300 feet, and I think this dimension was close to like 450 or 500 feet to our building. So we have quite a bit of distance.
And what is in that land and proposed in that 400 feet or so?
Nothing. Just, well, we have a parking area. That's where the emergency exit would be over here someplace. And landscaping and trees and a slope up. Just, we don't need to have anything there other than we want to make this like a park-like environment, you know, with as much, we're going to call it drought-resistant trees and landscaping that we can provide to give good screening to our neighbors, to give us good buffer. Our residents would like it to be also a pleasant environment. So that's the quick presentation, and I know there's questions. I forgot your name, ma'am.
Are you, I'm Barbara.
Barbara.
Okay. Before, I know that you keep referring to it as a mission style.
Yes.
And before you get too invested in that,
Okay.
I don't think that's appropriate for Granada Village.
Okay.
I like, you showed an alternate craftsman style.
Okay.
I like that so much better.
Okay.
The mission style is like Orange County, Riverside County, or even Santa Clarita. We don't need to push that. I mean, I just think, yeah. it's
Barbara,
kind of a
let me
simple-
interrupt you for a second. I think we're very far away from talking building
No,
styles
but
at
the
this
reason
point.
I'm bringing it up now, I realize it, is because, you know, you're going to be investing a lot of money in your plans and so forth, and I just think you've got this mindset that you're going to this tower, and I want to kind of direct you possibly towards, you know, this alternate way.
Barbara, I thank you, and Agnes, she's right. As we start to develop this, for us to give you elevations on Rinaldi and elevations on Shoshone, and to articulate those elevations, and to move it back and forth, and to come up with different roof forms, it will be very, very much to our advantage if we do have a style to focus on. Because if we don't know the style, then every time we want to move and articulate the elevation, it would be done differently based upon that style. If it was a craftsman or architecture, the roof might do one thing. If it's a mission style, the roof might do something else. So you're correct.
That's why I'm bringing it up.
That's
now.
good.
I realize that, you know, that's.
I think we got a lot of different opinions on it.
Yes, I think there are different opinions, Mike, and then.
And the Granada Hills specific plan calls for Mediterranean.
It's actually, it's a missionary style, a
Tile
colonial mission or whatever, but
That's
it is
what, that's
mission.
what we push every business that comes into Granada Hills, including the Knollwood Center. They revamped their whole center to reflect that with the tile roofs.
But, you know, I have, you know, complete, you know, I understand, you know, different opinions, obviously.
No, that's in the
Okay,
specific
Okay,
plan.
No, but I'm
please,
just saying
we're
that-
moving on, Barbara, to Bill had a comment?
Can you go back to the ones you just took down?
The ones with the grades?
The elevations, yes.
The grades, okay. Do you want to see the grading map too, or is this good enough?
I just want to be clear in my mind, the first two, the A and the B, I guess it is.
Yes?
do they totally hook up one end to the other, or is there some overlap? Because I can't quite see where the middle one picks up where the top one ends. Where's the connection between
There is no
AA and
Oh no, these are like cutting a piece of cake and looking at the different pieces of the cake and different layers. So this is a cut right through here, and we're looking as if we took a knife and we cut the building and then looked at it from Rinaldi. And then this is another one where we took a knife and cut it, and then we looked at it from Rinaldi. So this is the first piece of cut looking from Rinaldi, and this is further up the building, and then we're looking at Rinaldi, from Rinaldi looking at the building again as another cut. And we can do multiple cuts and slices.
all right.
Okay.
I was unable to see the bottom part when you were referring to what was what.
Okay, yeah, so we're basically doing slices up here, and we can do as many as we need to do to look at how many, how the grades are changing as you go across the site.
I think our main concern is not so much that, it's when we stand there for knowledge of what do we see.
Good, and that's where we want to go, and that's absolutely the elevations we want to bring you next time. And Barbara, that's exactly where Barbara was helping us. If we know the style, we're going to be able to create those elevation looks and focus them towards a style. And if you can help us with the Granada Hill specific plan and those elevation styles, we can present Rinaldi's look and Shoshoni's look and bring back some alternatives, but how those elevations will look best.
That's all I wanted is alternatives. I do have a maybe misplaced confidence in my my own aesthetic views, but it would be nice to have, to be able to show people the way they would look in this simple, craft look. That's all I expect.
And so, I think what we have to do is we have to read the specific plan, which we will do. We'll go through and look at that very carefully. So it could be a Mediterranean style. It could be a Santa Barbara style. It could be they have something that's more of a Monterey style.
Okay,
and they're all
so let's just say that by the next meeting, you will have looked at it and followed the guidelines. And
Same pictures of the front of the building. Judging by all your maps that you presented, the front of the building will not be visible from either of the streets, Rinaldi or Shoshone. Both of those streets will be looking at the back side of the building, if at all visible.
if you call it the back, it will be looking at
What
another
I'm saying
alternative.
is they're not looking at that pretty front entrance that we see in the pictures. What we're going to be looking at when we drive by, if we choose to look, is some landscaping in the back side of your facility. Right?
Another
And we
element.
understand that the back side will also be things, but I am certainly thinking that the only people that will see the pretty front of the building are the four houses that are on the Ridgeway side that might actually have a view of the building. So again, my concern...
yeah, I believe that this will probably be answered when they bring us elevations from Rinaldi, and we will see what it looks like.
My point is, as we sit here and discuss it, we're not discussing how the front of this building looks to the public passing by, because the public passing by is not going to see the front of the building. So that's my question.
Right,
I just want to make
and-
sure clear I understood
Yes,
that
sir.
part of it.
Yes, sir. And what is your name?
William Kuzma.
William, we like to use, and we use this in our business, we call it four-sided elevation. So we will bring you back the building with four-sided elevation, which means the four sides all have good quality looks. They're exposed to streets, they're exposed to traffic, therefore we will use as good a quality on each side. Okay?
Thank you.
Bill, and then, Wade, and then Jan. Go ahead, Wade.
Just a question. You've done the elevations. It's probably going to sit about 30, 35 feet high, even though it's two-story. The roof that I saw that you presented looked like a tile roof, etc. I don't see how you're going to locate your air conditioners and things like that. Those kind of, plus I'm sure you're going to have an elevator in there, which means that you're going to have some elevation on the roof to house that machinery and things like that. I don't see how, based on what you've presented thus far, where they're going to be located. In other words, are they going to be visible from street level from either Shoshone or Rinaldi, or are you going to place them inward on that other side that we can't see? How are you going to place your kind of support?
Good, yeah, mechanical and all that.
Yeah. Thank you.
David actually works with this every day, Mr. Griffin. David, is there a comment you want to make today, or should we make it when we come back?
Well, we can certainly address your concern, but what we want to do today is collect all of your issues, and we'll respond to all of them. First of all, it's absolutely in everybody's best interest to make the Renault, to make the Shoshone and Rinaldi elevation as attractive as possible. That's what everybody's going to see when they first see the building. That's how we're going to market the building. We have to make that as attractive as possible. Regarding equipment on the roof, that's always a tug of war. In an assisted living facility, typically you use an individual air conditioning and heating unit in each one of the rooms, so it eliminates a requirement for a package plant that heats and cools a 70,000 square foot building. You only have to heat and cool the corridors and the main 15 or 20,000 square feet of common area, dining room and reception, etc. And that equipment's much smaller, and if there's anything that we can do to hide it in the landscaping, that's always our preference.
Okay.
We don't want to put it on the roof. In another project we're doing, we couldn't figure out how to do that, so we figured out a parapet roof so no one could physically see it from the street.
And that's why I asked the question, looking at the roof line you presented. I didn't see any parapet or anything like that. So again, the question would be, how are you going to address the mechanical? And if you are providing elevations, I suggest you draw in, if we're doing window type air conditioning, heating, that be also indicated in there, so at least people have the sense of, because you can hear them go by. We're looking at the back of the building on the two roads, and we're going to be seeing air conditioning units sticking out. I'd like the people to know it and be aware that that is going to be a fact of life, and that there's going to be nothing sitting on the roof line in addition to what you've already presented, where we're going to, so that's, if you would at least address that in your list of things that you need to do. Thank you.
Jan and then Bill.
I want to kind of go to a minute to the point of actually opposite. You're talking about Rinaldi and Shoshone. I'm going to take my focus for a minute on the homeowners that live up on the hill there, that will live downtown. Are these going to be the people that will get the majority of the site of the, I guess, inside, or really the front of the building? And will there be any noise barriers for these people? How will that be handled? Because I guess you're kind of near that street that goes up on Ridgeway, and then there's people behind that look down.
Yeah, this is the Rancho de Valle Street.
Rancho de Valle, yeah.
Rancho de Valle, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, Rancho de
that's right.
Valle. It looks like there's maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 homeowners that, will in some way, and we'll look at that, how
Okay.
they might see the facility. They're quite an elevation difference.
Yeah, they are,
And
actually.
most of
They're
us
down.
probably have some beautiful views out there. But we'll be down away from them into a hill, but we'll look at that. We certainly have to use the down lighting that is restricted and only allows you to stay on your property with the light. For noise, we want to absolutely make sure how we deal with any types of noise. Our delivery. Now you have to also remember, we have to be concerned about noise for our own use too. We have old people that they go to bed early. We won't allow late deliveries. We don't allow too early deliveries. So and our deliveries are not big supermarket type deliveries. They're small vans that come in. And most of our deliveries are going to be right here in front of our own facilities, in front of our own bedrooms.
Does that affect Ridgeway as well? Because where your entrance is?
Probably, Ridgeway is its own entrance. We're not going to affect the Ridgeway, two residents on Ridgeway. They have their own, I think that's a dirt road. But we have our own roadway here, so we won't affect them. There's pretty good distance
And
between
the noise and the lighting wouldn't affect that way?
We can't affect them either. We have to make sure, we have to be sensitive. So for our own residents and for our neighbors, we're going to have to work on noise, restricting hours, restricting light, restricting the sound as best we can. And then our hope and our guide is that we can plant some good buffering and landscaping. Now we did have one homeowner right here who came up to me at the meeting, and he said, look, I'm all for your trees. He says, don't make them too tall. He says, because I live here, and I have a nice view, but if you plant a big old eucalyptus here, you're gonna kill my view. So I said, okay, we'll work with a landscaping palette to make sure these trees won't get in the way of your view too. So we have.
And then related to this, how far up does your lot, your building, where you go, when you go up Shoshone, and then there are houses to the left if you're going uphill, will there be some dividing line between those houses and what you're building or your parking or your emergency gates, or will it be right on those homes?
No, this home here is the first home we come to. I believe they have a wall on top of a hill.
Correct.
The hill is ours and the wall is on top. And then what we can do, I believe they have a wall though that gives them privacy to their backyard. Then from that wall, we go down a hill, and yeah, let's use this one.
Will you be getting rid of the hills in that area? There are hills that go as you drive up Shoshone.
Yeah, see, so this is that neighbor we were just talking
Correct.
about at the first one on Shoshone on the left. And then they have a yard, and then we should have shown their wall. I think their wall kind of comes in like right here.
I know the wall you're talking about.
And then it goes down a hill, and then we are going to start to do a lot of grading until we kind of get down to here.
Okay.
And then that's where we're going to have our emergency exit with a gate to Shoshone. So from here to here, all we want to worry about is planting, landscaping, trees, something to cover the hill that looks pretty for our residents. And if we needed to expand a wall or fencing or anything for our neighbors, we can absolutely work on
And
that.
as you look up that hill, if you're standing on Rinaldi and you look up, there's quite a hill there. Will some of that be taken down to put a building up?
I know what you're thinking
Yeah, there
of.
really is quite a bunch of hill. I didn't realize that until some people brought that up to me.
Yeah, and I don't think I have that. I have a photo,
Yeah,
but not
there
with
isn't
me.
here.
But I know what you're talking about. Is you're looking at Rinaldi,
And you look
you're going to look
up-
up this way.
Yes.
And there's a hill here. Now this part we're going to leave alone, and this is going to start to get flattened out a little bit. And then when you look further back, though, the big hill is all staying. We don't touch that. The big hill is all off our property. So actually, when you look up and you see the homes, we're going to only be working really a little bit in front of the homes.
Okay.
And anything further
So
beyond
that
the
larger
home.
hill will still be there.
Yep.
Bill, with this bill, and then.
I know it's very, very early, I just wanted to tag on to what Willie was saying about the air conditioners and stuff. I know several of the facilities do have the window air conditioners, so they stick out the side on whatever floor you see.
They won't. The system we're talking about is called a P-TEC system. It's completely flush with the building. There's a grill that sits under, probably on the Craftsman elevation. The window has a window treatment around it, articulated designed into the window treatment is a grill that runs the length of the window. And that's it. That's all that you see. There is no penetration for an air conditioner.
It's like the newer hotels are being built, actually.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
It's called a P-TEC unit.
I didn't know
There's a lot of people make them. General Electric, the biggest suppliers build, but what we will designate all of this in our elevations and be conditioned to follow the elevations. No one wants to put a row of apartment-style air conditioners sticking out of the side of a building along Shoshone. This is a $25 million facility.
I know, but that's why we ask, because that is important, because you don't want that to come later and somebody say, oh my God, look at all that. It looks like the apartment houses that we're looking at down there, though, you know.
Oh, no, absolutely. The question's perfectly appropriate. I'll bring you a picture of exactly what we're proposing.
Okay, right, and I think that would be very helpful, yes, the bill.
Your sketch that you have here doesn't show property lines. Are you acquiring all the property that the school has? There's not going to be any surplus that would have to be dealt with?
The answer is yes. We're
right.
buying all of the property on that side of the street that's owned by this church, school, and I listed them on the front, so there is nothing left.
I think what we've been talking about and we've been dancing around is the appearance. I'm looking for an appearance that's low-key, that will blend into this area and the terrain, and will not be overly decorated. Even may look nice with their towers and things, and it goes from 2 stories up to 3 stories. I think these are all that have to be designed. It may not look like the something from India, but we don't want that. We want something that's going to be as non-conspicuous as possible, and not have someone turn their head when they go down Rinaldi Street.
This is the only 2-story building on Rinaldi.
Well,
This will be. Everything else is 1 story.
Heritage is 2 stories. This-
Well, also just up the street, is a whole bunch of 2 stories.
School, yeah.
I would hope that your sign is going to be small and on the gate on Rinaldi, not some blinking one or something else.
Okay.
I think that landscaping is important, and we're talking about that. And the grading, it's really going to take a lot of dirt out of there, but you're going to balance it out. Night lighting, certain time, those lights should come down. Don't expect the burglars or anything. And also, what was that? Oh, parking. We talked about that before, and I think you're kind of short on parking.
Okay. We will come back and we'll give you all the information on required parking, about statistical parking, and what we can propose for parking. And we want no parking of our people on Shoshone or Rinaldi. Matter of fact, we're proposing, and we don't know if we can get it, that Rinaldi has no parking. Because, and I'll come back, and I interrupted you, Bill, but because this will be a right-hand turn, double lane, we think that this could be then acceleration onto Rinaldi, so we don't want parking there. And then we want to have a little deceleration for people who want to turn into our entrance. So between people coming into our property and people who want to get out of Shoshone, we think we could make this all maybe no parking. We have no reason to have parking here. And because there's no entrance here, this is gated, and we're not going to have any stairways to get to Shoshone from our property. The only entrance would be over here. So anybody who would want to come visit, and if they were to park out here, would have to walk all the way around and come in here, and it doesn't make any sense. So we need to have all the parking that we need.
Okay.
So we have to make sure we have enough.
If you look at the code, it has about 7 or 8 different categories of type of patients you can have there. I mean, elder care is a very broad statement, and the code says your parking is going to be dependent on the type of patients you have. If they're going to be in bed most of the day, you only need 1 per 5 beds. So that's something to think about. But you've got nursing, you've got doctors,
Yes,
you've got kitchen, you've got maintenance, and a lot of that, and visitors.
All right,
There's
thank you,
also been a
Mike.
bicycle lane on Rinaldi.
Excuse me,
A bicycle lane on Rinaldi, yes, right?
excuse me, please ask to be recognized. Mike and then Jan.
Hey, and I brought this up before, and I'd like to bring it up again. I'd really like to see you folks work with the Hillcrest, with DOT, and the council office to see if we can't restrict any parking from the beginning of your development on Shoshone, okay, on the west side of Shoshone, okay, from the beginning of your property all the way to the end, and then again, no parking from the westmost part of the Hillcrest driveway all the way past your facility. That way, making a right-hand turn out on Rinaldi is not easy if there's cars parked in front of your place. And if the people could get a better view down, then we're going to move traffic again even better. And I'd just like to see if you folks could work on that, and if you'd like to work on it.
Jan?
I just have one question that came to me from the community. Is this building gonna have an owner that's gonna fill it with patients Is some company gonna buy, be in with you before you get approval, or are we likely to get some company no one's ever heard of, or a place that closes places? Healthcare facilities tend to close very commonly. They don't get enough patients, they don't have it right. Is somebody gonna own this that the community would know about? Yes, this company is gonna put in this elder care, or are you building a building to then go back and sell later?
We're gonna own this, Jan, we propose to own it like we
Okay.
own shopping centers,
Correct.
and we own office buildings and apartment buildings, and we own them.
Okay,
And
correct.
therefore, it's part of the Griffin family portfolio.
Okay.
They own it. Then they have management. They have building managers, apartment managers, they have shopping center managers. And in this particular case, we will have a health care, assisted living, memory care operator
Okay.
that will manage it. Our hope is that that operator will even have maybe a partnership relationship with us. But we will own it. We will have the $25 million or the $20 million mortgage on it. And we certainly don't like empty facilities, whether it's shopping centers or wherever it is. So, no, it'll be part of the Griffin family of income properties, and it will be managed so it stays as full as possible. And if it's not, they're paying for a mortgage without any users, and that's not a good thing.
Okay, and like 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line, if you're not filling it with enough patients that you're expecting, the type of patients and the type of family in this community, what would you do with that property? Would you lower your level? Would you up your level of care to get
First thing we do, lower
different
price.
patients? Okay,
First thing you always can do is you can lower and be more competitive in price. And then you can start to work with government to see, okay.
that's a problem when it comes to healthcare.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, there's all different opportunities before you change the use. So we wouldn't change the use unless it was absolutely necessary. We see this type of need growing and expanding for the next 40 years. So for this foreseeable future, this is going to be a very high demand. Now maybe when my kids or grandkids get to be 80, then maybe the demand won't be needed, but for the next 40 years, we see this as a high demand.
Okay, thank you. And my name is Eva, Ridgeway Road. I represent about 70 of our residents currently, and that's growing by the second. Is anybody here from the seller side, Hillcrest? Okay. My question is, last time you guys tried to do something with the land there was a water issue underneath the property. Very serious water main issue. Somewhat.
On this property, there
Yeah.
is an abandoned aqueduct.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Yes.
abandoned?
Yes.
Okay. Where?
Thank you for the heads up.
Thank you.
You'll have a pool.
Jingle
Most of
alert.
it's been removed already. That's the good news.
And where are you grouped as far as purchasing the land goes? Have you, are you negotiating? Is it done deal? What's happening?
No, Eva, we're working with you, and we're making a determination whether or not we can get the local support to provide this type of facility. It's an assisted living facility. Bill talked to all of the other uses that are allowed under that code and the parking requirements, et cetera. This is an assisted living facility with the 25% of it dedicated to dementia and Alzheimer's care, with the lockdown facility for dementia and Alzheimer's care. And if that's what we intend to build here, we will work with the sellers until we can get the level of approval that we feel comfortable with at the Plum Committee, and then the Neighborhood Council, and then City Planning staff, and then the Planning Commission, and then the City Council. And then we'll go forward and purchase the property, and close the escrow, and start construction.
Besides you folks, Griffin, and the operator that you're gonna install, are there gonna be any other parties with ownership equity in the property?
Well, the way, yes, yes. The financial community after the Great Recession has debt. The bank loans have pulled way back. So your mortgages, the mortgage that would be available for a project like this is much smaller. And there are equity firms that have filled in that gap But they are financial equity firms that would provide the gap between the owner's equity and the mortgage.
Is Hillcrest gonna have an ongoing interest beyond the land?
It's not our intention.
No, nothing in our contract.
Only we're hoping for a discount for our own staff as we age.
Or all of us neighbors.
Yeah.
I
No,
just
but it's our intention to own it
Eva, I
with the
understand
structured debt.
I understand that you may have some concerns. Could you stand up and tell us about what your concerns are?
Well,
or what-
basically, my concern at this point is that this committee, before it either makes a recommendation to approve or to decline approval, we hope the residents, and we're going on our own way. There's at least 15 homes that are valued over $1 million right now that will be directly impacted by this project. That's number one. So you have financial issues with residents here. There's no way you're gonna make a 120-room facility inconspicuous. No matter how artfully they try to do it, it ain't gonna happen. It's a big facility, it's a huge building, and that's just the way it is. That's number two. Number three, we hope you're gonna do the right due diligence. We are, as a community, we have realtors, lawyers in our community. Lots of us are gonna be doing our due diligence. We hope you'll do yours. There's density issues, traffic issues, just to name a few. And I'm not gonna tip my entire guts out here. You know, this is, you guys as a board will make your recommendation, but you need to know so far, the community that's directly impacted by this facility ain't for it.
Okay, but
That against
what
it.
I'm trying to
Sorry.
find out from you is why.
Well, I
what-
just told you in a nutshell, there's property values, your house isn't backing up to it. Ridgeway Road, you know, you've come in here before and talked about need, and I've told you you're not doing your homework. Okay, you're glossing over it. You're trying to sell a board about need. We have 31 facilities. You didn't mention the villages, you didn't mention Emeritus. They all have empty beds in their memory ward right now. And believe me, when you guys get farther down the road, we're gonna know the numbers exactly of how many empty beds there are in a 15-mile radius. It's disingenuous to do that. Just be straight about it. You know, you're running a business.
Let me ask you this. Assuming that you are right, and you very well could be, how would that impact land use? Why would you care whether they make a profit or lose their shirts on it? What difference
I'm
would
not
that
saying
make to you
anything
as
of the kind.
a
I'm
homeowner?
saying that my husband financed long-term care facilities for 27 years. I know quite a bit about it. And number one is that anybody who purchases the land has the right to maximize their profit. And that's exactly what they're gonna do. They're zoned for residential, they can get in there. We can't stop them on a zoning matter. And they can try to maximize their profit, which I would want to do if I bought the 5.5 acres. But it's up to you guys as a committee to make sure you're representing the neighborhood and our interests. And we all have financial interests. We were here before the project.
I'm trying to understand why you think this would be worse for you than the.
Well, where's your house located?
Maryland.
Okay, and you don't overlook the property.
I don't, but this is exactly, I went by today and I took some pictures of the little houses that are there. They're full of junk, right?
Well, that's a shame on
But
Heritage
hang on a second.
for the way
So-
they've jammed it to this community and why they've been allowed to leave it in that shape is another big shame on Heritage. And this community, I don't know how many kids you've got enrolled from Beverly Hills, but it's Granada Hills who've been supporting you folks. And you've left that place as an eyesore.
Can we please keep this on a friendly level?
Not real friendly when I'm talking about my property value
I'm
plummeting.
trying to understand your point. Please help me out here to understand your concern.
Okay.
Honestly, I live in, my house is in the neighborhood too, and I want to understand.
But you don't back up to it, dear.
No.
And that's number one. And if you're on Mayerly, you should know full well that between St. Euphrasia, Heritage, Rinaldi Adult Ed, the other school, what's it, Frost, thank you. we're gonna do our due diligence is all I can say. You folks, your
Okay,
board
so
before,
your concern is, one, property values?
of course.
Okay, and I'm at a loss to understand why you think this would make them worse. It seems to me it would make
Really?
them better. But traffic, I can totally understand your concern there.
Residential property values will plummet 30%.
Why?
And people
Why?
who know
Why?
better than me,
Why?
the realtors and the real estate lawyers in the community will speak to you about that at a later date.
Okay.
And they'll speak before the council.
We'll be more than happy to
Yeah, I'm
hear
not-
that.
I'm gonna
Okay.
bow out on that.
So property values, traffic, what else? What other concerns you have?
Density, capacity, a million other things. That parcel of land shouldn't be housing, a minimum of 105 people.
You are asking us to do our due diligence?
You have
We're
to.
trying to do our due diligence, and it starts with asking you
Well, I'm
what
just
your
telling you,
concerns
those are the
Okay.
concerns, dear, so
Okay,
you have to run it down.
property values, traffic,
Yeah.
density, and what?
Capacity of the facility,
Uh-huh. Is that different than density?
capacity is much different. It's the capacity of the facility itself, dear.
So you mean like the number of people
The
living
number
there?
of people that will be housed there on that parcel, correct.
Jen, are you getting these?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then density, you're talking the area
The
in
area.
general.
And we're gonna have the traffic study and a million other things. So, you can't make a recommendation to put, a business in a residential community without knowing all the facts. I'm surprised that you think it won't hurt property values. I'm shocked at that.
I am here asking to understand your point of view.
But you made a
Just as
statement.
Just as I am, I said I am
You said
not
you
sure I
didn't think it
see
would
why
hurt.
this would hurt your property values. I personally don't see it, but that's my opinion versus yours. I'm trying to surface
Okay,
what
well,
the
then let's-
I
concerns
also
are.
want you to
I understand.
realize that we are so at the beginning of this
Yeah,
process. This is really our
Okay,
first legal
give me a few more
meeting
minutes.
with these
I
gentlemen.
totally understand. I just take offense when they come in a second time and talk to this board about things like need. When there clearly are facilities within a 15-minute drive of this property that have empty beds right now, both in memory care and in assisted living. So that is offensive to me. And I would hope that before you all make your recommendation to the planning and zoning board, you guys will listen, not just to us, I'm sure you have your own protocols before you write a letter to allow a commercial project like this into a residential neighborhood. And those people on Del Valley, you haven't heard from them yet, but those homes are well over $1 million. They'll be looking right into your driveway. There should be no egress onto Shoshone. Why is there even a gate? He's telling you there's a gate with a code, but it won't be
Because
used.
the fire department will
Well,
require.
folks, all I can tell you is we already have a congestion issue there, and all you have to do is drive it after school or on a Sunday when there's church.
Let me ask you this, if there's no egress onto Shoshone and all of the in and out of the facility is in Rinaldi, how would that impact the traffic there, or your opinion of the traffic
I
problem?
haven't done a traffic study yet. We're in the process of getting our own data. There's people in law enforcement in the community that are pulling reports. We're doing our due diligence as a community before we, shoot it down. But I could just tell you from a property value standpoint, if we could shoot it down today, these folks would be looking for another parcel. Number one, and in all due respect, sir, you've never done an assisted living before. You guys do malls. This is a whole different animal that you're getting into. You have no experience with it. And I'm sure you're gonna put in a great operator wherever you go. You don't wanna lose money. It's a huge amount for you folks to put out. But just not in my backyard is how I feel. Sorry.
All right, hang on a second, Ray had a.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you that you should come see Agnes's property. She had, it was about 4 acres roughly next door to her. It's been vacant forever until a few years ago, about a year ago. And this committee dealt with dividing that up. They wanted like 5 houses, we put it down. There's
16 at the beginning,
Oh,
and then
it's
8.
anyway, it went down to a reasonable number. What we on the committee thought 4. Well, they're not all in yet, but 3 of them are, 2 have almost finished. If you drive down Merrily, you see these 2 mega mansions next door to each other. That's right next to her property. Right behind them is the first one of the 4 completed. My son calls it Osama bin Laden's place because it looks like an exact copy of Pakistan, and that's right next to her.
All right, I don't think.
It's just a point that you don't always, when you have single-family homes, they're not always nice single-family homes. There's mansions that went in there. That's what they're building in our area. Just up the street from me on Zelza, the land there, it's giant mansions that are going up. So the poor people who live there on Shoshone on the end house, instead of 400 and something feet of vacancy, if that becomes a single-family home, they very well may have a 2-story plus giant mansion next to them. So, there's not any guarantees, because it's a single-family home, it may be a problem too. It's just something to think about.
Okay,
You wanted to respond to something first? You were going to respond?
Just one minor item, and I didn't mean to be real contradictory. We look at a 15-minute drive time. And sometimes, and I think I might have heard you, and I just want to make sure you understood, that's not a 15-mile radius. That would be quite substantially different. So we are a 15-minute drive time, which means it's about maybe 5, 6, 7 miles in city streets. So it's not that far. And we don't look at competition that's all the way down on Ventura Boulevard or all the way out in Santa Clarita. So when you look at our competition, we're looking pretty much just in the Granada Hills area for our competition, and there isn't that many nice quality facilities where you would be comfortable putting your parents or your grandparents. So the 31 that you're talking about, I don't believe are within our what we call competition for a 15-minute drive time. Okay? That's all.
Okay, Kuzman
I'm
first,
going to
and then.
defer to Ray first, and then I'll go.
Okay.
I'd just like to say, don't sell neighborhood council short. These people went and fought for you over there against Hillcrest, over putting in the high school. We were all there. We spent hours, days, weeks, months fighting for you. But you have to understand, and as you rightly pointed out, they have a right to develop the property. And something is going to come in there, okay? Now, you could have had a high school, you could have had a football field out there, kids screaming, Lord knows what else, but we turned it down. Now you've got another proposal for something that's far more sedate. And I want to point out to you, if you haven't had a look, if you go up at the back of the shopping center in the corner of Zelza and Chatsworth Street, up back behind the thing, there is an assisted living facility. Bill knows because we're the ones that helped approve it. We fought like hell to get the best thing that we could for the community. So in front of them now is a proposal for a facility. While not ideal, you can hear everything. You can look at the list that these people have put up. Traffic is in there, view sheds are in there, everything is in there that you said, with, I think, the exception of maybe property values, okay, which is not something that you would have to bring information to them. But I'm telling you, these people knock themselves out, and so does the neighborhood council, in order to get the best thing for the community. So the next time that you get one, if you don't want this, you may get something, might get a 3-story apartment house, okay, low-income family, living, family assisted, who knows what else you might get there, might be the next proposal up. They're going to develop it. So I think that all I'm saying is they will do their best to try to get the best thing that they can. And as long as these guys are willing to work with them and make those modifications, when it comes down to the end, you might not agree with what they recommend. No. But I assure you that you don't have anybody better representing you than this plum and your neighborhood council. I'm telling you that.